Afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to today's show, and this is the motive. We're going to bring out the motive on the deadly shooting in Minneapolis at Annunciation Catholic School and Church. We're going to bring it out to you right now. You're not going to have to wait any longer to hear what the motive is. Some will agree with me, some may not agree with me, but I stand by this all the way. Now, we got 2 students killed. We got 17 others injured. At this time, I want to send our deepest condolences out to the family and friends of all the victims. The shooter was identified as Robin Westman, 23, died of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Pretty sad stuff here. My God, and all these kids. I mean, how much violence is going on here? The shooter previously went to this school and church, for sure. You can't be part of the school if you don't participate in the church. There's no question about it. I know I have gone to a Catholic school and done this. You know, they wrote a manifesto. In the manifesto, there's a lot of self-hatred, a lot of self-criticism, a lot of blame. And, you know, when you see that self-hatred, and then you see this tragic, violent acting out in this shooting. And, you know, the bottom line, it ends up with a suicide. You know, there has to be a lot of self-hatred. And that's what's in this manifesto. And that is your motive. It is a hate crime, but it's a self-hatred hate crime along with a major hate crime against society in general, and focused in on the Catholic school and the church and the Catholic Church. That's the bottom line here. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, and please subscribe if you like what we're doing, because we always like your subscriptions. We always like your feedback. Please feel free to comment. We love your comments. There's no question about it. Also, I have Thrive out there, my channel Thrive. We're very proud of our channel. It's called John Kelly's Thrive. It's loaded with information and education on addictive illness. You know, addictive illness is the worst serial killer out there. Addictive illness kills more people than any serial killer ever will. So, you know, check it out. I mean, if you suffer from addictive illness, if you have addictive illness in your family, education is the best thing you can have, so learn from it. I don't care if it's heroin, coke, methamphetamine, alcohol, gambling, you name it. We have stuff on there. And we're going to be adding more on there. So feel free to take advantage of it if your family or yourself is being hit in any way, shape, or form by addictive illness. Yeah, the other thing I want to do at this point in time, too, is read some excerpts from my book, Warning Signs. Now, I wrote this book, Warning Signs, a guidebook for parents. I wrote this book 26 years ago, was published 23 years ago. I put a chapter in here on school violence. And you have to understand how much school violence has been taking place since this book was published. Think about how many school shootings we've seen and had over the past 23 years. Okay. Warning Signs, a guidebook for parents. Can't buy the book anymore. That's a long gone. They do have it on audiobook, though, if you're interested. I want to read an excerpt from this book for you. But remember that ultimately the child addicted to violence is a child acting out of depression and low self-esteem. These children may or not be doing drugs. They or may not be alcoholics. These children prone to violence feel cornered with no place to turn. What is left for the child to do in order to avert his or her feelings? It is obvious in retrospect that many children prone to violence got there because they feel horribly alone. And not it's not just the normal anxiety that we've all felt growing up. These children are so isolated by multiple problems that they feel trapped. Sometimes these children will try a variety of other methods to soothe their feelings and escape the reality. What we must learn about the violence addict is that he or she feels cornered. We all know what happens when you corner a frightened animal. And it is the same with many of these children. They have reached a new level of rage that is the product of parenting or society, or it can be genetic. It is a challenge we must meet in the new millennium. Otherwise, we face horrible consequences. With all these school shootings over the past 23 years since I wrote this, do you think we're feeling and dealing with horrible consequences? We're definitely getting hit with horrible consequences as far as violence in schools go. And here we have violence in the church as well. It's violence all over the place. So the bottom line is that this is a hate crime. There's no question about it. But it also was a hate crime against themselves. This shooter blamed the church and the school for the problems. Looks like the shooter exploded with murderous volcanic rage that was being built up and became volcanic after years. This just didn't take place in 3 weeks or 6 months or 2 years. This has been building and building and festering and building to the point of where this person just exploded. And exploded on a church with hundreds of rounds of ammunition, bullets going through the church windows, through the pews, hitting kids and others, and killing 2 and wounding 17, I think is the final count. So this kid, his hurt built up after all these years and became murderous volcanic rage. There's a lot of truth when you talk about hurt kids hurt people. Hurt kids do hurt people. Think about serial killers and abuse a lot of them go through as children. And what did they do? When they become a serial killer, they hurt people. Hurt kids hurt people, right? So it happens and it's truthful in a lot of respects. I believe this suspect was transitioning. And I think that really they had a major problem with the church's doctrine. The church has some problems and some thoughts about homosexuality that I think the shooter really hated and didn't feel comfortable about, and felt that he was being persecuted by the church's doctrine. That's what I feel, and that according to the church that he had to belong to at one time, probably, and they certainly went to the school, led him to believe that he was leading a very sinful life. So he decided to bring payback to the church and to the school as well. I believe the shooter had a low self-esteem and a lot of self-hatred, resulting in all this rage and anger. I mean, this low self-esteem starts, and it's like a cancer in your mind. It just grows and grows and grows. If you don't deal with it, and you don't deal with the thoughts that are taking place, and they're called thought distortions for a reason, because the thoughts are distorted. I mean, they're really like crazy thoughts going on in your head, right? So if you don't deal with these distorted thoughts, guess what thoughts become? Just in general. Thoughts in general, your feelings. You think something, you pretty much automatically feel it. So if you have a distorted thought, that'll create a distorted feeling in you. It may not be real, may not be factual, But if you're not in counseling, you haven't worked through this, if you don't know about this, you may believe it's real and you may believe it's truthful, and you're going to be a major self-criticizer. And that's what this shooter was. That's what fueled his self-hate. And that resulted in a lot of loss of life, a lot of hurt people. And that's through all his rage and anger. Man, this is a hate crime, all right. This guy hated everybody, and everybody else too. I mean, there's no question about it. He wasn't, or she wasn't concerned. Sorry, there if I don't have it right. In portioning the hate out equally. It looked like he had a lot of rage towards others. Low self-esteem equals lots of times internalized anger, which equals depression. Okay. What's that saying? Anger is depression inside out, or depression is anger inside out. I think it's the other way around. Anger is depression inside out. The shooter was an anger gatherer. Now, you ask yourself, what's an anger gatherer? This is somebody that just is so full of blame and not accepting responsibility for themselves or their actions or their life. They're blaming everybody else for all their woes and all their troubles. Okay? Instead of getting up on their own 2 feet and dealing with their life and dealing with what's ever going on. So they turn around and they gather all this anger and they builds up all this blame and rage towards others. Now, this shooter was angry at everybody, and the angrier he got or she got, the more depressed they got. Bottom line. So, the more depressed you get, the angrier you get. The more angry you get, the more depressed you get. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, it can become quite a cycle, unless it's dealt with through some kind of counseling or some kind of medication, some kind of intervention. An intervention needs to take place here. So the shooter goes through life with extremely low self-worth and self-hatred. Again, self-hatred. The guy committed or she committed suicide. He or she was a martyr. They're dead. Their low self-worth, their self-hatred killed them and hurt all these other people and killed a couple more people too. It's hard to blame themselves for somebody, for someone to blame, okay? It's hard to blame themselves when they're looking for someone else to blame. Bottom line. Think about it. But at some point, if you don't take responsibility, how do you change? How do things change? Nothing changes, nothing changes. Bottom line. The anger gatherer that is in the blame business, look out. It can get rough. It can get rough, and they can get violent. There's no question about it. And some of them will just blame themselves to the point where they won't hurt anybody else, but they'll end up with a spike in their arm or commit suicide in another way. Many times they will punish themselves to the ends of the earth, which is very, very sad. To wind up, the shooter's going to punish the church and the kids and themselves. Everybody's going. He's going with them. I'm going to go down to the church. I'm going to shoot the church up. I'm going to shoot the kids, and then I'm going to kill myself. This is what's going through the shooter's mind. My questions again, what about counseling? What about medication? Anybody see any warning signs? If you see something, you got to bring it up and you got to say something. See something, you got to say something. There's too much of this going on. Too many dead. Too many grieving parents. Believe me when I tell you, I've seen it 100 times. The worst thing a parent can do is lose a child. People say, well, we'll get it, get them to court or whatever, and maybe they'll have closure. There's no such thing as a closure. No such thing as closure for a parent that's lost a child. Doesn't happen. They have an internal hole in their heart that goes on, forever, probably until the day they die. Get me wrong, they may cope with it better over time if they have other children. But the bottom line, There's no such thing as closure. You know, when you get back again to the warning signs, that's lots of times starts off with, this distorted critical thinking, no question about it. And, you know, this shooter knew people and people knew this shooter. And it's hard for me to believe that this shooter could keep his anger and rage hidden and that there wasn't leakage, that his anger and rage wasn't leaking out, for others to see and observe and to understand that he or she was a live wire and could go off at any moment. Even in the manifesto, they apologize. The shooter apologizes to their mother and father as they did not turn out as they hoped. They apologized to their mother and father for not turning out as the mother and father hoped they would turn out. This shows a lot of guilt to me, and it's a sad situation because this did not need to happen. I don't think it needed to happen if there was a good intervention done earlier on. The shooter, even thinks she had lung cancer. She's only 23. She's been vaping. She believes she has lung cancer, but she hasn't been diagnosed with lung cancer. You see what I mean about these distorted thoughts, this distorted thinking? I mean, she's actually believing she's going to die from lung cancer. Now, you tell me when it hasn't been diagnosed. So, now this is how these distorted thoughts can make you crazy. So, because she's going to die, which she has no factual evidence on at all, she's going to get even and get some things straightened out and settle some scores before she kills herself. And she's going to kill herself because she has lung cancer that she's never been diagnosed with. 23 years old. So then she goes down and takes care of business as far as she's concerned and shoots up the whole church, kills a couple people and wounds a bunch of people. I think 2 killed, 17, right? But this is what happens with this distorted thinking, these thought distortions. It's so important. When they start to pop up, they have to be intervened on. When you look at how many times we're going to look at this, it's unbelievable. Is this an excuse? I think I might have cancer, so I'm going to kill myself and others and shoot up the church. Come on, man, right? I'm going to kill as many people as I can before I die. Mentally ill people do very, very sick things. Believe me when I tell you. Very sick and insane things. And we see it all the time with these mass murders. So here's where we're at. Most importantly, make it a great day. Take care of yourself until the next time we talk. This is truly a sad case. And we live in a very violent world. So please stay on your toes, take care of yourself. And until we talk again, take care of yourself and God bless.